I'd like to call the Village Board meeting to order. This is July 22nd. This is meeting number 3056. Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Present.
Kim?
Here. Here.
Meyer?
Here.
Semple?
Here.
Sullivan?
Here.
Voss?
Very good. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Do I have a
I'll make that motion.
motion by Kim?
Second.
Second by Trustee Abernathy. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kim?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Very good. Motion passes. Next on the agenda on the list is the time where we can have public commentary. Does anyone wish to make a public statement to the board? No? Okay. We'll close the floor. Next is presentation and awards. There are none this evening, nor are there any public hearings, which brings me to, let me see. I'm going to make sure I get the correct brochure here. This brings me to my report. And before I discuss National Night Out, I just want to bring up a rather sobering topic and just events over the last, say, week and a half, 2 weeks or so. Beginning with about a week and a half ago, if you recall, there was a celebrity that passed away, a star of the TV show Glee, Corey Monteith, a great talent, and it turns out that he died of a combination of heroin and alcohol, and it was quite a tragedy. And then, interestingly enough, last week, Lake County Municipal League had a meeting, and the county state's attorney, Mike Nierheim, addressed a room full of trustees, mayors, police chiefs, deputy chiefs, and of all the things he could have talked about, didn't talk about gangs, didn't talk about any kind of rash of robberies or anything. The one topic he addressed this room full of these people was the uptick that we're seeing in all of Lake County. Every village in Lake County, we're seeing an uptick in heroin use and addiction. And so that's what he talked about. And it's very interesting how we're seeing this. And we're not going to know the real impact for a couple of years yet when they do the studies and compile the data and report on it in real time. Our county state's attorney is seeing the broad picture. He's the guy that can see all this, and that's what he chose to talk to us about. And so I just want to implore those watching, those in the room, if you're a parent of say a fifth grader on up through college, and I count myself as one of those parents, I would just encourage you to please get educated yourself and then begin the conversation with your children about this. One of the most notable things about it, and we could talk about it a lot of aspects, but it's no longer the dirty drug that it was, say, 20, 30 years ago when some of us were maybe in high school, and it had the real stigma. It's different now, and kids are no longer just injecting it, they're smoking it and taking it orally. And what they're finding is that it is in such a pure form now that sometimes just the first time that a young adult or a child will use it results in an overdose, sometimes fatal. First time, because it's in such pure form nowadays. So it's a big problem, and it was reported to us, and I wanted to report that to the board, and also encourage the parents to get educated and to begin the conversation. And then that's a segue into the National Night Out that we're going to have on August 6th. And this is going to be at the Santa Maria parking lot at Seymour in Cortland, August 6th. That's a Tuesday night, 6:30 to 9:30. There's going to be all kinds of booths. It's a great time. It's really at the core of the community policing that's our philosophy here that Chief Gunther has. And so it's a great time for kids, say elementary through middle school years, to come interact with some of the police officers running the booths. And now we're going to have food there, a couple food trucks and also an ice cream truck. It's going to be a great time, and we're going to finish it up with a flashlight walk through the community. So that's going to be a lot of fun. There's a mayoral proclamation, Exhibit 2, in your packet. I'd encourage you to take a look at that, and come one, come all, we'd look forward to seeing you there, okay? Very good. That takes us to Exhibit 3, and this regards Lavinia, and I would need a motion to pass an ordinance granting a special use permit allowing a place of worship at 444 East Cortland Street.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Semple, second by
M.
Trustee Kim. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, is there any representative of the church here this evening?
I don't think so.
Well, I had one question. Maybe Victor or Pete can answer it. And I just didn't think to ask it when everybody was here the other night. The church realizes, the pastor realizes, there's no overnight accommodations at the church, correct? Because I read through everything again, and we're not saying they can't do it, but we're not saying they can do it. So I'm assuming they can't, correct?
They do, and they have been placed on notice. They have been made aware of that prohibited and restricted activity.
So they do know about it,
They do know about it.
and they've agreed to abide by that?
That is correct.
Fantastic, thank you.
Any other discussion? Very good. Clerk, please call the roll.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Trustee Meyer. I'm sorry.
It's slow on the microphone. I just wanted to reiterate that I'm still voting the same way that I did last time, and it's based on the downtown development plan, the Phase 2 activities for that area solely and exclusively, which has nothing to do with the church or their use of it.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Trustee Kim.
I just wanted to confirm that their legal name is Lavinia, N without the tilde versus N with the tilde.
Yeah, she just wants a clarification on the full name of the church.
That is the name that has been provided to us on the petitions moving forward with this process.
Without the tilde? Okay. Oh.
Anyone else? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Semple,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Meyer,
No.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, finally, motion passes. And finally, on my report, I'd like to call a committee of the whole meeting for 6 p.m. August 12th. And this is a one-item agenda on this evening. We mentioned it before. This will be regarding the sign ordinance. And there will be a technical review memorandum. Now, will that technical review be available to the trustees prior to that meeting?
Yes, it will be.
Okay. So, folks, you can look forward to that. And as I mentioned earlier, if you could begin doing your research on signs, electronic signs, that kind of thing, going into that, when you get the technical report, then in that evening, there will be some direction that the consulting firm and staff needs to get from everyone regarding that. So that's on August 12th. And with that, that closes out my report. Let's go to the trustee reports. Public Works, Trustee Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I have one motion, and that would be I'm making a motion to approve a purchase order for Midwest Water Group, Inc. for 6 chlorine analyzers in the amount of $31,800.
Motion by Meyer.
Second the motion.
Second by Semple. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Meyer,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Anything else that we need to report?
No, not.
Okay, then that would be it.
Thank you, Trustee Meyer. Next on the agenda, Finance Committee report, Trustee Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening, we have one motion, and that is to approve the payment of bills. AT&T, 3 invoices. I believe the total is $4,728.06, and I'll make the motion to approve that payment.
Motion by Sullivan,
Second?
second by Trustee Kim. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Meyer,
Abstain?
Abernathy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
This evening on our omnibus list of motions, we have one to pay a bill list in the amount of $320,527.81. Historically, somewhat of a small bill list compared to others. The largest amount to be paid is to Warren Oil Company in the amount of $16,656.32. This is for the purchase of gasoline. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sullivan. Next, Public Safety, Trustee Semple.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 2 items on the agenda this evening. Initially, we're going to go over the police department. There's one motion for the police department. I'll make the motion to authorize the purchase, the delivery, and payment of 4 Ford police replacement vehicles from Morrow Brothers Ford, Inc., address Rural Route 2, Box 120, Greenfield, Illinois, in the amount of $103,490 pursuant to the Illinois state bid, which is seen as Exhibit PS-1 in our board packets this evening.
Motion by Semple. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Abernathy. Any discussion?
Yeah, just real quick, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Chief, what are we getting here? We're getting two of the Explorer sedans and 2 of the SUVs, correct?
That's correct.
And the sedans are working out just fine?
They are for the smaller statured officers are working out just fine.
Okay. That's all I had, thank you.
I have a
Anyone else?
question.
Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is, last time you had the actual vehicles here. This was actually a couple of last times ago. But we were able to see it, and there was a significant difference in space in between the SUVs and then the sedans. With less than $2,000 difference, aside from, saving the taxpayers' dollars, obviously, was there any other reason why you chose to have some sedans?
No, the sedans work well for about 70% of the officers, and the SUVs work better for the other percentage. There's a slight difference in gas mileage, albeit very small, and there is a slight difference in cost. Ultimately, I'd like to see the fleet split with half and half. I think that's the best combination, gives us the best mobility and ability. So,
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Kim, I've been, I want to call it harassing the chief, but I don't like the sedans personally, and I was hoping to talk him out of getting the sedans, but like he said, he wants half and half, so I think he knows what's best for his police department.
I have a question that just occurred to me.
Trustee Sullivan, yeah.
The difference between a sedan and the, call it the Explorer. The Explorer higher off the street,
yes, it does have a bit of a clearance difference.
and it has more clearance. Does it present any greater difficulty getting someone in to transport in the back of that vehicle?
No, there's a slight cost difference also in the fact of the outfitting of the vehicles. The SUV is a bit more expensive because of that transport system. Requires dual cages, if you will, a cage to separate from the officer compartment and then a cage to separate from the back of the vehicle. However, we'll still have the capability of transporting people in those vehicles also, and we're talking inches, so it shouldn't be much more difficult to transport people in that vehicle.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Semple,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan, Kim,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Very good, motion carries.
And while we're on police, Chief Gunther, do you have any updates, any news for us, anything you'd like to communicate?
I do have one topic I'd like to bring to the board's attention. It's called that of lateral hiring. I will be bringing this in form of an ordinance to the board at the next meeting in August. And I just wanted to take a minute to briefly explain to you what that process is and why I'm bringing it to you. What I'm asking for is the village board's approval to grant home rule authority to the Police and Fire Commission for establishing the process of lateral transfer hires. That is the ability for the Police and Fire Commission to hire police officers who are already hired at other agencies. Right now we have new applicants, and you heard the fire chief talk earlier about their process, and when they hire new applicants, many of the times those applicants come with required training to be a firefighter. Well, that's not the case in the police industry. New recruits come to you without that training. Therefore, we're required to undertake that cost, send them to the academy, which is 12 weeks in time, bring them back to the police department, train them for an additional 14 weeks of time. So by the time the officer actually reaches the street in a capacity where they're handling calls on their own, there's 6 months of time frame that's passed there. With the lateral transfer hire, we'll be able to keep 2 lists, a new hire list and a lateral transfer list. Any officers that might be interested in coming over to Mundelein from their current police department could do so when an opening is available. The benefit to us is both in time. I'm not now required to send them to the academy, saving that 12 weeks, and the training period would be significantly compacted with the understanding they have some background as a police officer. They would be certified through the state of Illinois Training Standards Board, and they would simply lateral over. This saves us both the time. It also saves us a significant amount of cost when you start to balance out what it costs to train the officer, to have an FTO riding with them, some of the overtime that's incurred in doing that training, the outfitting, and so on and so forth. So we'll be bringing that ordinance to you next time. I just wanted to give you a bit of groundwork for that. And if there's any questions, I encourage you to call me in the meantime, and I can answer those for you.
Chief, we've got quite a few cops that live in Mundelein that work in other communities, and from time to time they've actually approached you to say, hey, can I get a job at Mundelein? And it's against our policy to make that kind of hire.
Yeah, that's true. I've had 3 individuals since taking office in February that had expressed interest of coming to Mundelein to be a police officer. Some of them we have wonderful knowledge of and background as they were prior employees, not officers. Let me stress that. They weren't prior police officers. They were prior dispatching, CSOs, other employees that we had that because of time they went and they wanted to be a police officer. They went to the first place that offered them the job, but they'd always wanted to come back. And this gives us an opportunity to reach out and get those people back here to Mundelein.
Very good.
Now,
Questions for Chief?
I just had one. I think, Chief, when we were talking, I believe that the Board of Fire and Police Commission has already looked at this.
Sorry, yes, that's true. There's a process here, and the first thing that I did was present it to them for their a blessing, for lack of better words. They gave verbal approval to bring it to the board, and that they would be interested in that procedure also. Once we have the home rule authority, it creates some more flexibility in the establishing of rules and regulations with the Police and Fire Commission. If this is already written into state law, and we could adopt the state law, however, it's far more restrictive than would be with the home rule authority. It gives us some more flexibility to make some adjustments to those rules and regulations. Once the board approves the home rule, I will take it back to the Police and Fire Commission with my suggested rules and regulations for the hiring of lateral transfers, at which time they will approve that and adopt that into their official rules and regulations.
well, I know one area I would be curious about is the area of pensions.
Yes,
That
it's-
just get transferred over and?
It does, and it's already established in law that, the way I understand it is, there's two tier systems now for the pensions. If the individual transferring over to our police department was a tier 1 employee, or in that system, he would transfer over as a tier 1 employee. If he was a tier 2 employee, then he would be required to transfer over into a tier 2. The employee will be required to, for lack of better words, buy into the pension system or cover the costs in order to gain those years of experience that they had at their other agency. However, they've already put an investment into their pension, which can be transferred over into ours, and then they'd be required to make up whatever monetary difference there is there, which, again, it's very beneficial for police officers with, say, 1 to 4 or 5 years of experience. It doesn't become beneficial for the 5-year and beyond to be able to come. It's far more expensive for them to do that. So we then are looking at those types of officers coming here, but it can be done.
Okay, so if they're coming from a pension plan that is severely underfunded, then
They've got to make up the difference in order to get into our system at whatever the funded rate is. So that becomes their responsibility to do that. They essentially buy those years, or they can start over fresh from page 1, if you will, in our pension system and begin to start from day 1.
then presumably if they come from a pension fund that is 100% funded, if it's funded to a greater percentage than ours, now they're ahead of the game and they benefit?
There would be a
presumably?
difference. There would be a difference in what the employee would be required to contribute, what his contribution would be to get into our pension system, based on the pension system he's coming from, the years of experience that he has. There's a mathematical equation that's applied to that. The pension board will handle that when the employee is hired and comes in, and they will say, this is X is what is needed to get into our pension system for the years that you want to buy back.
Okay.
Any other questions for the police chief? With that, we'll go to fire. We have a motion that I'm going to make here regarding a topic that we just spoke about during our Public Safety Committee meeting. We all know we talked about the adoption of the Emergency Operations Plan. We also touched base on the fire inspection process within the Village of Mundelein. We also had a brief intro on ISO. With that, I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor and the department heads to sign the amended Village of Mundelein Emergency Operations Plan as amended, and to provide the document to the Lake County Emergency Management Coordinator for review acceptance, seen in your board packets this evening as Exhibit PS-2.
Okay, motion by Semple. Second by Trustee Abernathy. Any discussion? Very good. Clerk, please call the roll.
Semple,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries.
Chief Sashko, anything else for fire this evening?
No, thank you.
Do you want me to call a meeting to go over ISO on August 26th at 6 o'clock?
That'd be a preference, Mr. Lebato? Okay.
All right, so we'll make that meeting call, and if everybody happens to meet with the chief and talk about ISO and decide you know enough, don't have any questions, we can always cancel the committee meeting. Okay? Thank you. That's all for public safety.
So just to be clear, that's on the 26th,
Correct. At 6 p.m.
6 o'clock p.m. Okay? All right, next on the agenda is the report from the Community and Economic Development Committee. Trustee Voss is not present here this evening, so I think that takes us to the vice chair of that committee, which would be Trustee Semple.
Before I get to the motions, Mr. Lebato, do I have a committee report or anything to mention? Trustee Voss's absence?
I don't believe so.
We're
No.
good? Okay. Well, before we have Verizon Wireless and take on the motion, would it be, is Verizon here this evening? Could we have Verizon come forward? And Charlie, is it okay if we question him now, or should I make the motion first? And then, okay. Always like to follow the lead of our council here. So we have a couple of motions for Verizon Wireless. I'm going to make the motion to pass an ordinance granting a special use permit for telecommunications equipment for Verizon Wireless pursuant to section 12.3, parenthesis DD, and end of parenthesis, of the zoning ordinance, section 20.48.030, parenthesis DD, end of parenthesis, of the Mundelein Municipal Code with respect to the property at 999 Thomas Boulevard here in Mundelein, Illinois.
Motion by Semple, second by Trustee Sullivan. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe some of the board members have questions to ask of Verizon Wireless.
Yes, I do. If I may?
Trustee Abernathy.
If I may. Yes, I have a question. When we met here in the beginning of June, I know Trustee Voss had asked for information on the research for locating the towers and your feasibility study of why that tower was the only one that was feasible, and we have not received that information.
I submitted to...
I have the packet that was submitted, but on there it doesn't say where else you looked, what other towers you looked at, and why those towers are not feasible.
Well, I plan to go through the maps to explain why the sites are feasible. If we're able to, what I provided was a PowerPoint, if we could bring that up on the screen, I'd be happy.
Is that what's in our packet?
Basically, the same thing as your packet, I plan to explain the maps and why.
Okay, so your map will be in scale, because that's one of my other questions for you. The ComEd with the map without ComEd candidate, the map with ComEd candidate are two separate scales.
Correct. Well, let me go through this map real quick and then maybe.
Okay. Can we get your name first and
Yeah.
address for the
Mr.
minutes? Yeah.
Okay. My name is Ray Schenkel. I live at 1089 on Wednesday Court. So, 1089 on Wednesday Court in Naperville, Illinois. Sorry.
I'm sorry, could you spell your last name just so I get it?
H-I-N-K-L. So,
Thank you.
if you allow me, Trustee, I'm going to
Sure.
go through what I provided me. I'm going to be able to shed some light on this. Basically, at the last meeting, you're right, Trustee Voss asked for some clarification on the maps. And your planning staff emailed me basically 3 questions to answer. The first one was to provide a better coverage map and include the streets and legends and kind of an explanation of the coverage, which I'm about to go through just briefly here. The next question was a map showing other location opportunities within the village that we looked at as an option besides the comment zone. And as I presented at both planning commission meetings, and I'll present here shortly, is there are no other options in the coverage area. Because what happens is, and I'll get to the coverage area, so I'll explain that, is that you are surrounded by Verizon sites that are on air, that already exist. And the coverage works like a honeycomb. You need to just overlap with the adjoining sites. If you're going away from the coverage objective and get into other sites that you can co-locate on, you're either on an existing site where Verizon already exists or too close to one. But I'll get to that in just a moment. The next question was, if the village were to repeal the ordinance where T-Mobile, where they approved virtually an identical co-location opportunity that T-Mobile did 800 feet to the south, meaning that it was just 2-3 years ago that T-Mobile came in for the tower to the south to co-locate on. Can they repeal that? And the question is, I guess you could. I don't know if T-Mobile will be willing to do it, but we would have to start all over again. We'd have to get new tower drawings, new structural, new survey, and T-Mobile still has plans to build this tower eventually. So when they come back, whether it's this year or next year, they're in the same position that Verizon's in now, and they have to co-locate. The only closest co-location opportunity it's the same tower we're here for tonight. So we don't feel that that's really a viable option. So before we get into the maps, I just wanted to note that the first thing that we look for when we come out and look for is to locate a new antenna facility is to co-locate on existing structures like we are here tonight. That's in your code and it's a requirement on our part. These towers that we're here for tonight exist all throughout Chicago. Here's some other suburbs, neighboring suburbs where they exist. Highland Park, Arlington Heights, Wayne, Libertyville. They're all co-locations on the same exact comment towers that we're here for tonight.
Excuse me a second.
Yes.
I just want some clarification.
Yes.
That you don't only have towers on ComEd towers, you do have them on water towers, you have
Oh, yes.
you have
Oh,
self
yes.
towers, you build self towers?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, so it's not just ComEd towers you have to use?
Oh, absolutely not. In fact,
Okay.
comment towers are the last option that we're looking for.
Oh,
They're
okay.
incredibly expensive to build and to maintain. But when you go to eliminate co-location opportunities, the last thing the village wants to do is for us to build a new tower. So we look for anything to co-locate on. That's a ComEd tower, a church steeple, a smokestack, a rooftop, a water tank, anything that is in the coverage area where you want to co-locate on, where you need to be. Does it provide the height that they need to be, and is it in the area that they need to be?
Can I ask a question real quick? Don't we have property that used to have the water treatment plant that's empty now? That's over in that area? Maybe,
When we get to the street map, maybe you can know that any of the locations that we need to look at. So
Yeah.
that'll shed some light on that.
Okay.
We're almost there. Just, I wanted to point out something interesting, that just 3 miles to the south, on the same comment line, that is an existing antenna facility. The exact same thing we're proposing tonight, that's co-located in Vernon Hills. Same transmission line, just 3 miles
And-
to the south.
okay. That's,
Okay? So I just want to point out, these are part of our landscape.
wait, Vernon Hills, you said 3 miles south, but it's not on our map.
Right, it's 3 miles south, it's not, it's.
But it's not on this
Right,
map.
no, it's not. That's another tower, that's another communications company, that's 3 miles south. 3 miles, these towers are within a half a mile of each other. Verizon, and these carriers are locating antenna facilities that close to each other. 3 miles is way outside of the coverage objective for here tonight, but we'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
These towers right here, this is the tower in question, this is the candidate right here. that we're
Right.
looking to co-locate on. This tower right here is the tower that T-Mobile was approved on just 2-3 years ago. This is the coverage, basically the searching that was provided to us. This is the area that Verizon wanted to erect a new antenna facility. And the reason why they wanted to be in this area is this right here, 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 and here are all existing sites. All 4 existing sites. They're up on a water tank here
Right.
at St. Mary's School. They're on downtown Libertyville on a water tank. They're on Cuneo water tank right here. And they're on an existing tower that's right here. So the coverage map, the coverage deficiency is in this area right here. Moving it over to those areas, they're already covering an area that's covered. This is just a close-up of that area, so we're looking for anything where we can co-locate on. And the most obvious choice are the existing comment towers that are there, 110 feet tall. This is an area map of the same thing. but
Okay.
straight away.
Well, if you go down further,
Okay?
there's other tower, why don't you use the towers that are more on the park, the other go north? Yeah,
Here?
not that far, yeah, you don't have to go that far north, but, yeah, up in there, why don't you go there? Because if you look at, because I'm going by the maps
We'll
here.
get to that here. Let me go to that map right there. So
Okay.
this is a street map of the same thing. This is the candidate here in question.
Right.
We're looking to co-locate it on night. Those are the 4 surrounding sites. That's an area of the same thing. So the RF map that we're getting to next, the dark blue represents excellent in-building coverage and excellent street level coverage. More and more subscribers are cutting their landlines, looking to replace them just with their cell phones. So it's very important for all the carriers to provide excellent in-building coverage in the residential areas. This is the coverage map that we're talking about here tonight.
Correct.
You can see that we're deficient in the blue area here.
You're also, white is there's no coverage, correct?
White is basically, the explanation is white is poor in-building and poor street level.
Okay, that's Libertyville. That main spot over there,
Mhm.
that's Libertyville.
Oh, I understand, the
That's
coverage
what-
objective is right here. They're looking to provide excellent in-building. They'd like to get coverage to bleed over there.
And you
This
do
is
bleed over there.
The coverage over here. When you see the site on air, you
Okay.
can see that it provides the coverage that they need.
But those maps are not to scale. These two maps, that map and that map, not the same scale.
Well, I'm not trying to be deceitful. I think that this is a pretty good indication. This is the map that,
That,
without the coverage, that, you don't think that that's the same scale?
oh, it's not. Look at the roads that are being shown. It's not the same scale.
Got the same, you got,
Well,
I'm not trying to be deceitful. I'm just trying
okay.
to show the coverage.
The
that-
other thing is you're calling that tower White Deer Run.
Right.
Hey, that's in Vernon Hills.
I understand that the search area, that the radio frequency engineers, they name the search areas, they name
So
it
they're
by
trying,
certain
they're
subdivisions
searching
or
White Deer
rivers.
Run.
No, they just named it that, there was no significance in it, that they just call it, the search ring, they call it White Deer Run. There's no other significance to it. It's not like they're trying to sneak something by and cover the neighboring subdivision. We are looking to co-locate on the most obvious choice. If we can't co-locate on this comment tower, I'm open to suggestions of where we would go. T-Mobile was just approved 800 feet away for the identical situation. Why would Verizon not look for, I mean, they're looking for your support to provide this coverage. They have a deficiency here. This is only gonna grow. More and more subscribers are using their smartphones from the age of fifth grade and up. And they're using it in their homes. They're just trying to keep up with the demand.
Did you not consider the water tower on Allenson Road that the village owns?
Can you point where that is?
Go down,
South, up.
On
Allenson
There you
Drive.
go. Yeah.
That's correct, right here.
right around there.
That is too close, we did look at that, it's too close to this tower where it does not provide the coverage that you would get up in this area. And they're really trying to penetrate the in-building coverage in this subdivision.
What about on top of Cardinal Square, which is close, just off of Holly Street? Go north, right around there,
Right up in here?
a little
No,
south.
South,
like way south, southwest of that.
right there, right around in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say Cardinal Square, what is it, a rooftop or is it?
It's a rooftop, and
How
what,
big of a rooftop are we talking? Because we're at 100
7 stories, isn't it?
Yeah, 7 stories.
We're at 120 feet right here. And we didn't, when you start to get away from the coverage objectives like we were,
But it looks like you're gonna really make coverage good for Vernon Hills and Libertyville. Midlothian Road is what the fire station's on. I'm a Verizon customer, I live just off of Midlothian Road. My service isn't all that good in my house, and this new tower is really not gonna help me out either, is it?
well, again, we only provided the coverage map for this surrounding area. I can't speak on what they're doing over in this area. We were just.
Why wouldn't 45 and 176 cover your area? It doesn't even cover your area right there.
It's white, I mean, it's white on their
I don't know
map.
if I hit the spot.
Yeah.
Again, they put a lot of thought into this. Oh, there we go. They are not, this is not something that, like I said, the comment candidates are really a last resort. They look to meet the code requirements of co-location. When we submit a comment for consideration, that is not something that they're happy about. It's incredibly expensive to build and to maintain. As you can imagine, the wires are still hot. So only one qualified GC can build it, and they charge a lot of money. So it's not something that they like doing. It is only something that, can they justify the expense, and does it meet the coverage objective? And that's pretty much why they designed it. I mean, if it was a radio frequency engineer's job, this entire map would be dark blue. But they have to be selective because they're under financial constraints. And this is a site that met the coverage objective and going forward. And it's a co-location. It's in harmony with your code.
Well, we look at co-location as on top of a water tower. You're looking at it as being co-located with something else where it's not just a freestanding tower. Amanda, how many sites did you guys work with Verizon on when I'm sure staff talked a lot about all different sites, what we suggested with Verizon?
You know, in this case, we didn't go through a ton of other sites because they're telling us what works for them. Could there be more of an example of what other locations they've looked at? There probably could be, but we don't want to get into the game where we're telling them where to go unless it really is a viable option for them.
There's also a water tower south on Butterfield Road that I believe has the Village of Vernon Hills logo on it. I believe it's a county-owned water tower.
I can promise you that if I had an option to go on a water tank over at ComEd, that is exactly where I go. Exactly where I go. This is not, we are not trying to co-locate on ComEd towers, I can promise you that. But I can also tell you that this is a co-location. Your code does not restrict co-locations to just water tanks. It is anything that's existing that avoids the need for a new tower. That could be, as long as we present the material, a rooftop, a water tank, another tower, a smokestack, a church steeple, all those things are candidates that we consider every day, as long as they meet the criteria.
If I may, co-location is defined in our code as locating on another site where another wireless carrier is located. It can be brought in our comprehensive plan to suggesting other sites such as water towers, et cetera, but in the zoning code it is defined. And the tower to the south does have T-Mobile on it. If you look at the ordinance that was in place when that was adopted, that ordinance can be repealed because they're past the time of what was allowed. I believe it was either 6 or 12 months. Either way, it's well past expiration.
Before we're done, I have a statement from Trustee Voss that she had asked me to say. I'm sorry that I can't be there tonight to address this petitioner. The last time they were present, I asked them to provide information on where else they had researched locating. I also asked them to provide information proving that this was the only site that would provide adequate coverage for their customers. Verizon still has not provided this information. They did say that if they were required to move to a different location, it would be a time and financial setback. Verizon also furnished a map that shows locating on the ComEd tower will help residents in Greg's Landing. It doesn't address or doesn't show that it addresses coverage problems for Mundelein residents. If I were present tonight, I would vote no because, in my opinion, Verizon has failed to adequately prove their case. Trustee Terry Voss.
I guess I'm confused on why a tower 800 feet to the south that's just identical as this would be supported and not this one. I'm confused.
It wasn't all of us here in this room that would have made that approval. You're talking to a lot of newer elected officials. So sorry.
So
It's not identical
you
to.
would not support that or the one 800 feet to the south?
Well, you can't, there's no guarantee this board would approve the other one because it happened in the past.
I think if we had have seen something that showed, we tried this location, we tried the water tower on Butterfield, we tried the water tower here.
I feel like showing these maps shows when you say the tower, but it's going to an area we're already covering. I mean, I can come back here in 2 weeks and show you the coverage maps depicting those sites, if that's what you'd like to see. When we submit candidates to radio frequency engineers, they plot on the coordinates and see how the coverage would work. I could ask them to look at those water tanks and provide those plots and show you the difference.
Could you go back to the other slide without ComEd candidate? To this map without ComEd candidate? Now, if we were talking about the intersection at Illinois 60 and Midlothian, I think that's what we have over there. See all that white?
Over here?
No.
Here?
Yes. If we were talking that whole area, I think that might be, since that's Mundelein. Where we're talking,
This site is in Mundelein. I can't.
the site is in Mundelein, but that large area of white and green that's getting
They're trying to
converted?
cover this, not this, right here. I mean, you can see the difference in.
But they have coverage.
Verizon wouldn't be building this if they didn't think the coverage was sufficient, believe me. There's something, they're trying to keep up with the demand. They need that in-building coverage. Or it will not be able to keep up with subscriber demand. They wouldn't be building this if they didn't need it.
If I could just
Yes.
try and bring a little clarity to where I think we're missing each other here. It just seems like, if, from what I'm hearing, is that we're locating this in Mundelein, yet the greatest marginal coverage is occurring outside our community. And that's what I think is creating a bad taste in our mouth, and that's what it's looking like here when you go back to the previous.
So that would be the reason you would deny.
I'm just suggesting that's what I'm hearing from the trustees in their concerns, is that, go back to the previous one, please. Oops. If you look, you can see the large white,
This is right, over here. But you can
and that's
see-
receiving, we're going from very, very poor coverage to adequate coverage, which is creating a greater coverage area rather than, yeah, we're going from green to blue, but that's not near as significant, I think, perhaps in the minds of the trustees, from what I'm hearing, as when that white over there outside our community now becomes a covered area.
We have
And so,
a lot of sites where.
if you could just address that part of it, because I think that's what I'm hearing you guys say.
The only thing I can say is that, the radio frequencies are just looking at, they don't see borders of towns. I mean, they just see gap coverages, and they release these search rings and ask us to provide viable candidates. And we submit everything and anything that's existing, and they evaluate that. If we can't find something that's existing, then we look at proposing new towers. These towers that are here are the most logical choice. I mean, they riddle the landscape through that area, so why not take advantage of something that's already part of the visual landscape? They didn't pick it because, oh, that's on the border of Wonderland, it still covers, part of Vernon Hills and vice versa. They're just looking to cover the deficiency and turn this coverage gap into this.
Yeah, see, the coverage gap visually appears to be outside our community, and I think the question,
This part right here,
no, to the right of that, right there.
their main objective is to cover the in-building in this area. That is the main objective. If it bleeds over and turns poor coverage into adequate, that's just bonus.
Okay.
But their main coverage is to turn adequate into excellent.
So does
Okay.
that mean you're gonna be looking to put another tower?
In this area,
Yes,
There's
and
a
another,
very good
and another
chance.
one on the other edge of the,
there's a very good chance of that happening, yes. There's, like I said, all the engineers are evaluating this as it grows, and more as the subscriber base grows, there is a chance of that.
So-
But right now, I don't have that information, and it might be fine for the next 5 years. Or in 3 years, they could come back and decide they need something in this area in order to fill that coverage gap. Yes, that's true. I've only been asked to handle this site here. Now, I didn't provide the site over here, I only asked to do the adjacent site. But there's a good chance that there's already a site out here that they needed to pick the coverage map on, or maybe they're looking for something right now. I could get that for you, I could provide that map for you if you want.
what is your goal or Verizon's goal? To basically have that whole area be blue?
Ideally. So to answer your question, if you want me to show you coverage maps that will discredit the 2 water tanks to the north and south, I'm happy to do that. Believe me, if we could have done it, we would have done it.
But that's what we asked for, to something that discredits other locations.
I thought by doing this and explaining these maps would do that.
So do you wanna come back at the next meeting with the information that Terry Voss asked of you? Because if that's the case, I would remove my motion. Otherwise, we're going to vote on it.
If the board feels that that information would help with the decision, I'm happy to do it. And I'm sorry if for providing what I provided, I thought this is what you were looking for, so I apologize.
Well, you justified your location, but you didn't unjustify the other locations by showing us a map. There's a water tower here, it doesn't work. And I think that's what we were looking for is, you've done a good job of showing why you need the coverage in that area, but I think we're still questioning.
Yes, we went to the two planning commission, notified hundreds of people, and a small group came out with some questions, and no one else.
Well, the buck stops here.
Yeah, right.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Sullivan.
I'm prepared to support the motions. However, I think it would be good that if there is not support, a majority support for these motions, that this be deferred rather than have it fail tonight. So perhaps
I would agree with that.
a poll is in order.
I think a
before
poll
vote
is in order.
All right.
We could. Let's just take a poll, go around and see where we're at. And yeah, if we have the support, then we take the vote. If not, then we'll defer it and get the additional information. So, Trustee Kim?
Being one of those people who have a cell phone and no landline at home, I understand your objective here. Not only you, but every service provider is trying to get everything blue. Nothing is as frustrating as being inside my house and not being able to. In fact, I can't in downtown Mundelein check in when I go to Azteca on Yelp because T-Mobile has not done their cell phone tower. But, I mean, this looks to me like an operation game. I see where the edges are and I see what you're trying to do. So I would vote in favor.
Trustee Meyer?
While I understand the issue at hand and all the complexities involved, I have to abstain because I'm in the industry.
Very good, thank you. Trustee Abernathy?
No.
Okay. Trustee Semple?
I'll go with my two colleagues over there and call the question.
Very good. No one else has any comments? We'll call the question, okay? Clerk, please call the roll.
Going with the original motion? Or?
Yeah, the original motion.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Just wanted to be sure. Semple?
Yes.
Sullivan? Abernathy?
No.
Meyer?
Abstain.
Kim?
Yes.
Next, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to pass an ordinance granting a height variation. Pardon me? It was 3 to 1.
No, it was 3 to 1 with 1 abstention. Then I have to vote? Okay. I would vote yes. Sorry, Trustee Semple, go ahead.
Next item is item B, which is a motion to pass an ordinance granting a height variation for Verizon Wireless pursuant to section 12.3, parenthesis DD, end of parenthesis, parenthesis 7, end of parenthesis, parenthesis D, end of parenthesis, of the zoning ordinance, section 20.48.030, parenthesis double D, end of parenthesis, parenthesis 7, end of parenthesis, parenthesis D, end of parenthesis, of the Mundelein Municipal Code with respect to the property at 999 Thomas Boulevard, Mundelein, Illinois.
Motion by Semple.
Second.
Second by Trustee Sullivan. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Semple?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Meyer?
Abstain.
Abernathy?
No.
And I vote yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is all for community and economic development for the evening.
Very good. Thank you. All right, that takes us to the next item, E, Communication and Marketing Committee. Report from Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I am making a motion to approve the minutes of the last Marketing and Communications committee meeting that we had on July 8th, 2013.
Motion by Kim.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Sullivan. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kim,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Voss.
Motion carries.
Also, we are going through candidates looking for the manager of marketing and communications for the village. That's going well. Do you want to give an update or anything, or is that satisfactory?
Yeah, we have 2 more candidates to interview this week, and we hope to have that finished first round this week. We'll move on from there.
Right, the sooner we get them, the sooner they start working.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Trustee Kim. Next, item F, Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Trustee Abernathy.
Thank you, Mayor Lentz. Okay, I've got a few things. First, I need to have a motion to approve a professional services agreement with Bollinger, Lack and Associates for the design engineering of the Route 60 water main replacement in the not-to-exceed amount of $77,735 and authorize the village engineer to sign the agreement.
Motion by Abernathy,
Second.
second by Trustee Semple. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy,
Yes?
Semple,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and now for Lake Street and Diamond Lake Road, a motion to approve a professional services agreement with Bollinger, Lack and Associates for the design engineering of the Lake Street, Diamond Lake Road, Allenson Road sewer improvement design in the not-to-exceed amount of $36,722.34 and authorize the village engineer to sign the agreement.
Second the motion.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Trustee Semple. Any discussion?
Why, yes, Mr. Mayor, and I wish
Sullivan?
I could remember the specifics. Of course, it's always been a concern to me that we don't bid these engineering jobs. I know that our department discusses these, and I have great confidence in our head of engineering and public works that he is getting us the best deal we can. But I was reading where, I think it was the village of Libertyville, bid an engineering project, and I'm not sure if it was streets or what, but I had been led to believe that this wasn't done. Somewhere, I'll try and I'll talk to you about getting some specifics. I like the idea of a bid where everybody looks at the job and says, closed bid, what they're going to charge for it. And of course, we don't do that with engineering projects.
Actually, we do with several of them. Yeah, the previous one you just approved was a request for proposals where we evaluate each of the proposals.
Did we see the bid list of what the bids came in at?
Your packet.
Oh, is there a packet that's
should
in
have
that?
included a
Maybe
list of.
maybe that's where I saw it.
Yeah. It should have included a ranking for each firm that
It's,
included cost.
Okay, thank you.
It's on the back.
I'll be sure and check that out.
This particular project did
More
not.
confident by the minute here. All right.
But you are right. This particular project we're discussing at this point did not, because of the technical expertise that Bollinger Lock had with this specific project.
Okay.
There was no other firm that was going to be able to provide the resources they did on this.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy,
Yes?
Semple,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, now, and a third one, for the Holly Street land acquisition. A motion to authorize the mayor to execute the warranty deed and/or temporary easement and right of entry for the following properties: 345 Lincoln Avenue, 315 West Holly Street, 233 West Holly Street, 210 West Holly Street, 209 West Holly Street, 130 West Holly Street, and 27 West Holly Street.
Second the motion.
Motion by Abernathy, second by trustee Semple. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Trustee Kim?
Yes, this is all in reference to doing road repair on Holly Street. How much closer are we to?
I'm going to get to that right after this.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, Trustee Kim, to answer your question that you just asked, I do have a little bit of an update on the Holly Street acquisition. Some properties are proving to be a little difficult. So to accelerate the land acquisition timeline, the village administrator is temporarily reassigning 2 employees, Scott Clark and Fred Clora, to the Public Works Engineering Department, and they will be under the direction of Adam Boucher. So that will be their job, and they will, for the next 90 to 120 days, their goal is to obtain the necessary land and easements by the end of the year. So that's what those 2 will focus on. Okay?
By December 31st?
We're hoping.
Not like a fiscal year?
Some
or-
of them are, you know what, and I have looked at this, some of them, it is difficult to find out who actually owns the property. Yeah, they're unfortunate, someone might have passed away, so it's really not as easy as we might think.
Okay.
And some people think it might be, anyways. The village staff continues to work closely with LC Dot and keeping them appraised of the progress. There are 44 properties that we need to either acquire land or easements. So there's 7 signed agreements for the 44 properties.
7 of 44.
Yeah, so that's why they have been working on this. And as they're approved or as they're completed, they'll come back to the board then for approval. Any other questions?
Nope. just
Adam,
wanted that
anything you
update.
want to fill in on that?
No, not at this time. It is a difficult process,
Yeah.
and land acquisition is a time-consuming process. You do have to be in constant communication with each of the property owners, so the more parcels you have, the longer it typically takes.
What happens after December 31st?
That's an internal deadline for us. At that point, if we still didn't have those parcels, we'd talking to the county about extending our deadline even further.
Yeah, our goal is not to have to do that.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that our goal is not
Well,
to do.
No,
We're thinking by, adding additional resources to this project that it will get us to an end point quicker. There might be future decisions for the board to make, but right now we're proceeding to try and get all 44 properties. We want to see how much we can get done by putting more concerted effort towards them. We kicked that off today, as a matter of fact, with kind of an organizational meeting with the 2 employees to get them up to speed on the project.
Now, John, they're helping out with the project. That's not their sole gig.
No, but it's going to be a good part of their gig, as you say, for the next
Is that right?
60 days for sure. So we're going to keep weekly progress, see how we do with this. A lot of it has to do with, just trying to run down the mortgage companies, because not only do we need the property owners sign off on it, but we also, if there's a mortgage on the property, you have to get with the mortgage company and get them to agree to it. The ones that are in foreclosure or bankruptcy, imagine a complication. So that's a lot of phone work and a lot of constant follow-up. So I think the 2 individuals that we have helping us are good at that.
anything else?
No, anything else? Nope, and I'm done, thank you.
Okay. Any other trustees have other reports? Yes, trustee Meyer.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to report out on several meetings that I've attended recently. One of them is related to the 6083 corridor phase 1, and that it's the community advisory group, and they recently held a meeting to identify the progress that's been made so far. They discussed and acknowledged the money that Mundelein had put towards the engineering study on an underpass or overpass for the railroad track along that stretch. Their intent is, after that engineering study, to hopefully wrap up phase 1 and start, well, as part of phase 1, they would have several public hearings to identify the progress to date, the recommendations on underpass, overpass, or leaving it at grade level. And they hope to do that sometime this fall or later this year, which would then conclude part of the phase 1 work and then start putting them into the phase 2 work for that 6083 corridor. So that was one of the meetings I've attended, and I've been part of that group since it began. And actually the last meeting prior to that one was in 2011. So, and prior to that there were a series of meetings that were held that I was involved with. The other one is on a mayor's caucus related to rental housing trends, and I believe all the trustees have received a memo from Amanda Oranchuk on that. And I would ask everybody to really look at the material in there, because it really discusses the rental housing trends, the changing perspective on the rental market in today's environment for the foreseeable future. And there's quite a lot of good information in the documents that were attached to that memo. And I think it would be very important for everyone to really be cognizant of that as we're going forward in development and some of the projects that we hope to see in the near coming future.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to bring up those 2 items, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, that takes us to the omnibus items. We have items A through G. Does any trustee wish to take any of those items off of the omnibus vote? No? Okay. Do I have a motion to pass the omnibus items in total then?
So moved.
Motion by Meyer,
Second.
second by trustee Abernathy. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Meyer,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries. That takes us to village staff reports. Mr. Lebedo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had one item, and it's really just to apprise the board of a decision that Mr. Boucher and I came to about allowing construction to occur after hours. This relates to the IDOT project on Route 45, East Route 45, between 83 and Mundelein and 21 Milwaukee Highway. I think we received notice that they were, I think, resurfacing a good portion of that. But there are 2 segments where they have to do kind of a grind and overlay. And that segment is at like roughly 83 and extends a little bit further east to roughly Dover Straits Restaurant. And then there's another segment that is from Butterfield Road west, some distance, but by the Park Butterfield apartment complex. And so the contractor had contacted the engineering department and asked if they could work in the evening, which is obviously less traffic, less congestion, less of a problem. And so we thought that was a good idea to mitigate some of the problems associated with that type of construction during the day. And given the fact that it's heavily traveled, we decided that it'd be best if we allow them to work. So it's a limited time period. It's not, the project's going to go on for a lot longer, but they have to get in there and grind the pavement away in those small segments. So I just really wanted to make the board aware of it. We're going to notify the management at Park Butterfield, let them know that they're doing, but we think, given the fact that it's summer, I think all the windows will mostly be closed and shouldn't be that much of a disturbance. So that's all I had.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Marino. Okay. Madam Clerk,
Nothing?
nothing tonight? Okay, there's no executive session. Any other business? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Abernathy, second by trustee Kim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Oh, no.
Thank you. We are adjourned.